Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF Is Age of Wonders 3. This is a 4X turn-based fantasy strategy game. That's about the 6th time I've attempted to pronounce that properly and messed it up every single time. That's okay. I nailed it. Good job I don't do a blooper reel on this thing. So it's made by Triumph, who are a company that actually made the Overlord games, but before that made Age of Wonders. Yes, it is the original crew, although a lot of that was done in collaboration with Epic Mega Games. Yes, that is actually what they were called at the time, so take a moment just to ponder the fact that they thought that was okay. It was a strange, dark time we used to live in when it came to video games. We should just take a look at it, shouldn't we? We really should. Because it's quite the thing. So, first, let's have a look at the options menu. So, graphics options are available to greater or lesser extent. It looks quite a lot like Civ 5, and actually I think you'll notice a lot of Civ 5 influence in this, and it wouldn't be the first game in this genre to do it either. Because, of course, you have the game Warlock, Master of the Arcane, which looked a lot like that too. I think that Civ 5 has become a benchmark for modern 4X, which, at least originally, I would have said that was a bad idea, but thankfully now it's pretty good after the expansion, so there you go. So you've got pretty much what you would expect here. Refresh rate does go up to 120Hz, which is always nice to see. VSync on or off if you want it. You've got borderless, you've got full screen, you've got windowed. There's some weird stuff that goes on with this. Sometimes it doesn't constrain the cursor on the left side. So if you have a second monitor, then scrolling with sort of edge screen with the cursor doesn't really work. Which is a bit weird. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's nice to have the borderless window nonetheless. And then you've got your quality presets there. Nothing really out of the ordinary for a turn-based game that would really surprise you. It does have AA. Doesn't seem to have an anisotropic, which is a little odd, but I don't think it really matters. Like, an anisotropic more often than not is based on things in the distance, and on a top-down view, you generally don't get a lot of that, so I guess it's not too relevant. That's a lot of audio sliders, isn't it? It's quite nice to have that level of customization. In fact, I'd love to actually push the music even higher because it is that good. There we go. It's lovely to have this level of customization for audio. It's very rare you see that, so it's pretty cool. Rebindable controls with primary and secondary, as you might imagine. Some of these are definitely worth learning, including end turn. Very, very useful thing. There's a part of the UI that lets you do it as well, but you might want to speed a couple of things up. G is also a very important key to remember too. That basically sets your army on guard mode so that it's not going to be pestering you every turn. To say, hey, I want to move, hey, I want to move. Yeah, it can get a little bit annoying. Outside of that, you got gameplay options here. Play movement animation on or off. Pretty useful to turn this off, especially considering that movement animations tend to be fairly lengthy on the overall map screen. And this is what that will turn off. So when you're dealing with a turn-based game, the last thing you want is to see the slow movement animations of every other faction before you get to move again. And you've got your end turn confirmation on or off as well. Nice to have this on initially, then turn it off once you really learn what's going on with it. Yeah, so for the most part, it's got what I think that you need here. There's nothing really glaring that's missing from this screen, so that's always good. So let's dive in, shall we? There are 3 ways to play the game. You can play, actually there's 4 ways to play the game because you've got online multiplayer as well. You've got new campaign, new scenario, new random map. I'm playing a random map right now. I've played a couple of levels of the campaign and I'm actually happy to say it's pretty good. And then if you don't want to randomize, you can pick a scenario and have something that's a little bit more structured. So I'm currently playing a Dwarven Dreadnought. And I'm going to show you exactly what that means. Here we go. Let's go in here. The Adventures of Bormac Orcbane. Resume. Okay, so this is Bormac Orcbane. Is he not a handsome individual with wonderful pauldrons? Yes, indeed. Ah, look at that fine beard, which is translucent, strangely enough. Must be a strange thing that the dwarves are capable of, some kind of magical enchantment. But it is a fine beard nonetheless, you have to admit. He's looking a little bit disturbed now. I think he's lost some of his confidence from me saying that. Gotta be careful what you say to people. They get very upset. Alright. So, welcome to an interface that is probably fairly familiar to you. It does definitely have that Civ 5 vibe to it, and you're also dealing with hexes as well, so I think if you played Civ 5, you're going to be able to dive into this pretty quickly. So, let's show you what goes on with this. So, it is a 4X game, meaning that you have to concern yourself with 4 things. Explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. So, kill stuff, find stuff, build new cities, all that kind of thing. So there is a diplomacy system in the game, but let's start with dealing with the cities themselves. Okay, so if you're expecting a lot of really complex city building, there's not really too much of that going on. You've got a couple of different options. You can either produce units or you can produce upgrades. You can't produce them both at the same time. Currently, I'm working on a pool of the firstborn here, which is going to unlock some special racial units and also buff up my existing lower tier stuff. You could also, of course, raise the city, plunder it, and you can actually change the population around if you want, which is an interesting thing you can do because there are 5 races in the game. More often than not, you will take cities that are from different races. It's an act of evil to actually kick out the original guys and replace them with somebody else, but there are times when there is a reason for that, and you can probably see right here, there's a big book, the Tome of Wonders, so very similar to the Civipedia here, that will explain all these kind of concepts. And there are sometimes reasons to do it. For instance, maybe the terrain that your city is built in is not ideal for the race that is currently inhabiting it. So currently I'm in kind of an Arctic terrain. The dwarves really like that, but the Draconians, probably not a fan of that. They're into the more fiery climates. So maybe I'd want to move things around. Maybe I just captured a city and I want to kick out the original inhabitants because I want to keep building dwarf units. Whatever the population of the city is affects what units you can build. So you've got a bunch of dwarf stuff here. All of this stuff, like, I believe prospectors and deep guards and everything, I'm pretty sure with, if you moved over to Draconians, you could kind of do a fairly similar thing with it. Because you're always going to have sort of the equivalent unit from the other race. So, an Axeman is just your kind of basic tier 1 infantry. Prospector is an irregular, so that's a unit which doesn't really do the same things as other units. It can't really be so easily categorized. But there are irregulars available on a bunch of different factions as well, which usually like combined skirmishing, melee, and ranged units with a couple of special abilities. If we look at what the Dwarven Prospector can do, for instance, the special ability of this is to tunnel. You can actually tunnel through dirt cavern walls. The game does have the ability to manage a sort of underground area, which is very similar to the Heroes of Might and Magic games, and there are certain units which can tunnel, and you can actually, well, make new areas underground, which is kind of cool. Aside from that, they can throw rocks. They've got a melee strike there. They're irregulars, which actually does matter in certain scenarios. You can buff irregulars up with various abilities. They are dwarves, and they have mountaineering, so they can get over mountains very easily. They also have cave crawling, so they can do that. Night vision and blight protection. So yeah, all these units are going to have different stats, but there's usually an equivalent on the other side, and then you start to get some really interesting stuff, like, say, the Musketeer. And the Musketeer is, as you can probably tell by looking at this, a Dreadnought-specific unit. Now, what do I mean by that? So, there are classes in the game, and when you start the game, you pick a leader, and you pick the class of that leader. There's 6 different classes, and they affect all manner of things, from the research you can do to the units you can build. So in this case, the Musketeer, well, that is a unit for the Dreadnought. So I can build Draconic Musketeers, Draconian, or whatever you would like, or Dwarven Musketeers from my Dwarven city here. And I've probably got another one. I most likely have a human. Yeah, there's a human village over there. If I built the right buildings here, I'd be able to build human Musketeers. And they would all be slightly different, but they'd all basically fulfill the same role. And you can get some really weird situations like Goblin Succubus and things like that, which is pretty funny. I can also build giant landship juggernauts and flame tanks, because why the hell not? This is why I love the Juggernaut class. Each class has a whole different way of doing things. The Archdruid, for instance, is a class that very much relies on summoning various kinds of animal, as well as like the God of the Woods, who can do all sorts of things like that. They've got a lot of spells that can alter the terrain to their favor, make nature rise up against someone. You can even like turn someone's mounts feral in combat so they won't respond properly, try to befriend beasts on the battlefield. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. But the Dreadnought, well, he's not much of a caster, as you might imagine, but he can do things like summon spy drones, Dragon Oil, which is a nice little city enchantment, and the Mana Fuel Cells ability, which allows me to spend mana to increase production speed. And each class does feel very unique in its own way. Okay, armies requiring orders here, so I'm going to garrison this cannon here. I keep getting attacked in this city. It's rather annoying, so I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. And I think we're pretty much ready to end the turn, and then I can show you what else is going on. Now, you might be saying, so far, this looks an awful lot like Civilization 5, and oh my, Okay, you know what? I'm not going to attack those dragons right now. Oh, they're attacking me. This is terrible. Okay. Well, I guess I could show you some combat. I'm most likely going to lose one of my best army leaders in doing this, because I definitely do not have the units to fight off 3 dragons. Okay, 2 dragons and a wyvern. Maybe I can probably run away before they can do too much damage, so... This is the main difference between a game like even Master of the Arcane and Civilization 5 and Age of Wonders. You get these kind of Heroes of Might and Magic style tactical battles, which can actually be very large. It looks pretty small right now. I've got 6 units in my army. These guys have 3. Okay, that's cool. But here's the thing about that. Alright, this is where I can run away. I really want to get the hell out of this. Screw it. I'll do it for demonstration purposes. I'm going to sacrifice this army for you. So... just feel grateful as my guys get murdered. So yes, you get these tactical battles, and they're all hex-based as well. So you can see our units can be moved around pretty much wherever. Now, you have a kind of strange action point system, which is basically 3 action points. And if I move my full movement, I'm going to be able to probably still attack, but I'll be a bit more limited in what I can do, because there are some attacks that will trigger multiple times depending on how many action points you've got. So let's say let's just try and demonstrate it, shall we? I'm gonna get my leader killed here. That's gonna happen. Although before we do that, let's at least cast a spell, since that's what these leaders can do. Alright, so we'll go for... we'll try Rain of Poison Blades here. Alright. Not really going to be effective on many of these guys, but we'll hit the Frostweapon with it. Okay, so cast a spell. You can do one of these every turn, and they, of course, use mana from the global pool, as well as spell points, casting points, which are... battle-specific. So you can't just keep burning your mana. I've got 50 casting points that I can use. Okay. So let's move in. If I move to the... oh, well, I can't move anymore because I've cast. If I move to the full extent of my movement and then try to fire, so with some weapons it's going to work. Like the musket only fires once anyway, so it doesn't matter where you move. But with some archers, you can fire up to 3 times. Or so melee attackers, they can attack up to 3 times. So there's a bit of decision-making involved in what exactly you decide to do and how far you decide to move, beyond the simple, oh, I don't want to move too far because they might attack me kind of situation. And they are going to attack me and most likely murder me. There's no way I'm going to win this fight. I'm doing this solely for your benefit. There we go. So I'm moving into defensive formation here to just try and hold them off. I don't think it's going to happen, but we can give it a shot. And now the dragons are going to murder me completely because I'm not prepared at all to fight these guys. So overcomes the dragon. And, oh, he has Frost Breath. Okay, I should not have bunched up. I'm going to get Fire Breath now. Oh, dear. Oh, God, why? Oh, that's pretty brutal. Well, there's a consideration for you. Do not ever bunch up against dragons. Terrible idea. And even my musketeers to the side are getting hammered now. So, yeah, we're definitely going to die here. Now, let me demonstrate what I was talking about with the movement points here. So I can attack 3 times with this Spirit Ray that I have here if I fire from here. The problem is there's a ranged penalty for that because I'm too far away. So I might want to move in a little bit closer. Alternatively, I could just shoot with my pistol, which only has 1 shot anyway, so it doesn't actually matter where I go. So if I move in a little bit closer here, I'll be able to get rid of that ranged penalty. So you'll see it does more damage. It tells you what it does. Each attack kind of has characteristics, like this is a straight shot. So, in this case, it's very useful. It'll probably do more damage, but arcing shots are generally a little bit better at getting over low cover and things like that. So, everything kind of makes sense to some degree. So, as you can see, all the straight shot stuff is going to do more damage, but I am going to get absolutely destroyed here, as you can probably see. You can accelerate all of the movement by, at least of the enemies at any rate, by simply clicking the accelerate button at the bottom, which is always nice. There we go, we'll open up with the muskets, which are dealing a decent amount of damage, but they're going to have to reload, and then I'm going to get absolutely destroyed. Jeez, this is pretty terrible. But there's all sorts of other things, like the ability to flank, the ability to charge. If you move a certain distance with cavalry units, they get a charge. As you might imagine, polearms are particularly good at fighting off any kind of cavalry unit. And I'm pretty much deliberately losing at this point, because there's no way in a million years I'm getting over that. And each unit has its own purpose. There's things like siege warfare. You can build walls around your city, so you can get things like trebuchets and cannons and battering rams in order to make your way through there, or just fly over or climb up the walls. And overall, the combat experience is extremely satisfying in comparison to a game like, say, Civilization 5, which is blatantly not combat-focused. However, that does, of course, present something of a disadvantage as well, in that Civ 5 is also very focused on empire building, way more so than this game is. In this game, you gain a lot from attacking and fighting, and it is quite combat focused. And a lot of your economic stuff is going to be kind of geared towards just getting larger armies, making sure you can defend, and making sure you get a kind of a tech advantage on your opponent. There's less stuff available that allow you to just kind of become an economic powerhouse, and winning by diplomacy is very difficult, but not impossible. There is a diplomatic system within the game, but it's not all that well fleshed out in comparison to a game like Civ 5. So, really, I think what you're kind of seeing with this title is a game that is much, much more similar to Heroes of Might and Magic than it would be to a title like Civ 5. And that's important for people to know, because they may be expecting something. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, we'll get that. They may be expecting something that is a little bit more detailed on the empire building front, and Age of Wonders is a bit less so than that. So here we have research, as you can see, and you can research all sorts of different things. I've got a slight complaint about this, and I imagine that this could kind of be dealt with by just reading the Tome of Wonders, but the tech tree is much less obvious in this game than a game like Civ 5. I don't know what's coming next in some of these tiers. Like, this is a tier 5, so this will be like the end of this tier. But will this unlock anything? I don't really know. Not from this screen anyway, so it's just something that I think the UI could be improved to show you, frankly. You can see all of these are the passives that I currently have access to. But it would just be nice to be able to see from this book what exactly is coming next. I think we will get Mana Fuel Factory. That sounds like pretty good. Now, I mentioned Heroes of Might and Magic, and I think it's a really good comparison because the Age of Wonders games were always quite similar to HOM anyway. They kind of were almost developed in parallel, and I have a feeling that both series were influenced by each other. This game does have more detailed city building, and of course it has diplomacy. So, Heroes of Might and Magic never really had much of that. You couldn't go into diplomatic negotiations, you're pretty much just fighting. And it had this big focus on creature stacks as well, like you would build a stack of dragons, they'd all be in the same place. In this game, you can have much larger battles, but it's all about positioning in terms of where your armies are. Each army can only be 6 units in size, but you can kind of position in such a way. So let me kind of demonstrate here. If I put this army here, and then I put this army here, if there was an enemy here and I attacked, both of these would attack. So you can get up to 7 hexes worth of units into the battle and have these gigantic, crazy battles going on. And it's pretty cool, I've got to say. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Let's try and get ourselves into a fight that I can actually win. I have a flame tank and a cannon here. I'd love to demonstrate those because those are really fun units. Ooh, there's a serpent over there. Maybe we can have a look in that particular direction. So it straddles an interesting line in that it does less of the economic stuff than Heroes of Might and Magic would, and of course games like King's Bounty as well. But it does... Sorry, the Civ 5, I've got it the other way around. It does more of the economic stuff than that, but less so than Civ 5, with a much bigger combat focus. And also a really nice focus on exploration, which I think is where this game really shines, and it's also where games like Heroes shine as well. What you're able to do is to find various areas on the map. As you can see, I've already found a bunch of them, like things like watchtowers, but there are also ruins that you can explore, and they're treasure sites. There's dungeons you can go into and fight a bunch of monsters in order to gain items. And customizing your heroes with items is really satisfying because a lot of those items can do some crazy, crazy stuff. Let's find my main guy, for instance. He's got a few items. He has a mount. He has a Unicorn Sire mount, which is going to give a bunch of different abilities. 4, in fact. And that's not a crazy mount. Like, you can get legendary and epic and mythical mounts that give all sorts of different things. He's wearing a pair of boots that allow him to go faster through wetlands. He has a prototype rifle, which gives him an ability, the ability to shoot a musket ball. He's also wearing a ring that gives him frost resistance. Or I could swap him out for a boar. You know, if I'm going up against an army that has a lot of blight magic involved, I could swap him out for this boar, and he could ride the blight boar, and he would have a much better time with things. And look at all the abilities. This is where things get crazy. This is where I'm also, like, really engrossed in the game, because you can give your hero so much stuff. All of these are abilities. All of these are buffs and passives and active abilities that you can use, and you can customize your hero to a fairly ludicrous extent. If we go to hero upgrades here, this is all the stuff I currently have choices for. And of course, when you get a certain threshold, you will unlock another ability. You can go down a particular tree. You can focus on being a hero that very much buffs an army, or a hero that has a lot of active abilities on his own, a hero that's just very good at combat in his own right, or a hero that is a very good spellcaster and a buffer and a debuffer and things like that. And it's kind of great. Like, there's so much customization there, and it blows everything else out of the water in that respect, including Heroes of Might and Magic, which is impressive because HOM does a lot with items. This game does even more than that, which I think is absolutely awesome. Alright, so we lost our army out here. This is pretty bad because we're going to lose a city by the looks of it. Yes, he's moving around with the Juggernaut. I don't have any units to fight that, and I just threw away my army that I had in this area, so that's not too great. But again, we're just doing this for demonstration purposes. I'm ruining my game for you because I love you. I know I don't. So, up to this point, what do I feel about this game? Well, I am utterly engrossed. I'm going to be entirely honest with you, of course. I am into these kind of games anyway. I absolutely love these larger 4X strategy games, and even though the tutorial for this game wasn't that incredible, they definitely could have done a much, much better job, in my opinion, of... Ooh, there's a sanctum there. We should go in. Yeah, let's go into a dungeon. Here we go. Yeah, let's go fight this stuff. Sounds good. They didn't do a great job of explaining the mechanics from the start, and I had to delve into the Book of Wonders quite a bit to figure out various concepts, which... that kind of sucks. You should never really have to do that, per se. But I found that my knowledge of Heroes of Might and Magic in games like Civ 5 made this game quite easy to understand. I didn't really have too many problems with it. Okay. Let's show you something fun. Here's a flame tank for you. Hopefully you enjoy this. Massive conal flamethrower. Absolutely awesome. This is why I love to play the Juggernaut. I actually have 2 flame tanks in here because I was a Nod fan. Let me put it that way back in the day. I loved my Nod. Oh, can I hit him with a cannon as well? I think I can. Oh, I have a line of sight penalty as a result of this tank. That is upsetting. I wonder if I can move around it. Ah, we can get a shot. Cool. Let's fire the cannon. Which will actually hit things behind it as well. And I think they just got wiped out by that. Very cool. And this is why playing a Juggernaut is fantastic. Then we're going to toss a flashbang, I think. Let's try and blind the Shrine of Smiting. Not much chance of that, but if I can pull it off, it's worth it, because this thing does a lot of damage. And a successful blind. Very cool. Excellent. Silly risk, but hey, never mind. These tactical battles are always really fun, and I like it because the units usually fight at around full effectiveness until they die. So it's not like Heroes of Might and Magic where stack will just get weaker and weaker. You see visually that the units start to lose members of their squad, but they seem to just be as effective even on lower health, which is kind of neat. So you are able to use all of your units effectively until they die completely. So even a very weak unit is still going to be very useful. But you also have to watch out. You have to be extremely careful because heroes have permadeath, with the exception of your leader. If your leader dies, you get 3 turns of absolute chaos in your empire, so it's never good to end up in that situation at all. Okay, let's see if I can do anything from here. I have no line of sight. I guess I can stand there. I mean, they took a lot of damage. I could probably just kill them off with a ranged... I'll use my heavy crossbow. Actually, I could use anything. Yeah, just fire the pistol. Why not? So that's you gone. Nicely done. But yeah, hero permadeath is really interesting because you spend a lot of time kind of building up these heroes to have a bunch of abilities, and then they just get murdered instantly when the AI decides, you know what, I want to bum rush him right now. So you've got to be a little bit careful. I'm taking a risk by having my hero out so far like that, but I think that it should work fine. And now, of course, I'm gonna move out of the way. I could attack here, but it's a Crusader. I don't really want to attack from the side there. What I want to do is move out of the way because I'm about to use the flame tank again to try and burn down this Shrine of Smiting. There we go. It's a very satisfying tactical experience. The battles do not get old. I find myself, especially with units this cool, just wanting to get into more fights. And yes, the auto-resolve works. It's okay. It does the job, but you can certainly lose quite a lot of units if you don't do things properly. You've kind of got to be careful about that. You can maybe figure out if something's going to go worse than it claims it will. It's more often than not, it says, oh, hey, yeah, so you can... Will that actually do the damage I'm hoping for? Maybe, maybe not. Like, oh yeah, you'll be fine. It'll be totally fine for you to just go in here and fight, and you'll have a probable victory. But if you look at the unit composition, you can say, oh, hang on, my guy's on low health here. It's quite likely that I could lose. And I find myself most of the time just not bothering to auto-resolve. I mean, this is risky, but I think I'm okay doing it. There we go, I'm going to sabotage him. Awesome. That's what I like to see. And I want to spread out here, because this guy has a nasty area of effectability that I don't want to get hit by. Alright, there we go. I find myself just fighting the battles because they're fun. And that's the best thing about them. Even against smaller units that seem a lot weaker, you can still lose parts of your army. And since all of your army has veterancy, it means that you want to be extremely careful about preserving each and every unit in your army, because they'll gain additional abilities, they'll become much more powerful, and there's a lot to be said for being really careful to not just throw away units. And I love most of these tactical games that allow you to do that, and this game does. It does it really, really well, and I'm extremely pleased with it so far. Visually, it's quite impressive. I mean, it's not the best looking thing ever, and it's unfortunate, I suppose, that the original game kind of comes from a time period where you're getting these just really lovely drawn sprites and stuff like that. And it was absolutely awesome to look at those, and they were kind of timeless. But frankly, I think they have done a pretty bang-up job of making this game look good in 3D regardless. You have a wide variety of different terrains to fight in, the unit variety in particular, the fact that they had the same unit for multiple races and made it look different, the fact that they changed the mount that you were riding, like he's now riding a unicorn, and things like that, that's awesome. There are definitely some exceptions to that. Like, for instance, with the upgrade that gave my cavalry all pistols, it isn't representing the pistols all that well. There's the Divine Vengeance going off, which hopefully didn't kill any of my units. I think it may have wiped out one of them, but yeah, I'm okay. It shouldn't be a problem. Now we can go for another sabotage just to finish that off. So yeah, if you give them pistols, like, it'll kind of sort of wave their arms around instead of drawing a pistol, which is a little bit weird. All the heroes seem to have it properly animated, but some of... Oh! Incredible! I just got the ability to summon dire penguins. Wow, this is just beautiful. Oh. Oh. Oh! Why would I not want that ability? Why would I not want it? I'm sorry, I was distracted by the dire penguins there for a second. But all of the heroes are properly animated in that respect, but some of the animations are maybe not so great. I mean, if you were to compare it to Might and Magic Hero 6, for instance, the animations of the combat, not as good. Definitely not as good. The stuff in Hero 6 just looked so good. Really well animated. You don't get quite that level of quality from this, but the rest of this game oozes quality. And whether it be the excellent soundtrack, or it just be the general fidelity and... I mean, I hesitate to call it pretty, but it is. Like, I mean, just zooming out the map and seeing this, for instance, there's just a level of detail there, and very much tender loving care that seems to be applied to this game that really stands out. I like the way that a game like, say, Warlock looked, but this looks even better. I mean, it looks really good. And we're going to summon some dire penguins, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. We need to get these in combat. We need to find an army that we can... We're going to summon the dire penguins into the city. Can we do that? I think so. Alright, dire penguins have been summoned, folks. That's what they look like. Look at that. They're dedicated to evil. I love that. They're dedicated to evil. And they have the ability to swim. I could make an entire army of these damn things. Can we? Oh, please tell me I can. I'm going to have to prepare the spells because it takes a little bit of time, but that's brilliant. We can now roll out with our army of cannons, musketeers, and penguins. You don't get to do that in many games, and that pleases me greatly. The whole game just looks really good. And there is a huge variety of units. There's a lot of depth to the combat. It requires a lot of strategy in order to properly execute. We should send the dire penguins in against that land ship. I can't see that going too well. Must continue with the penguin casting. Let's summon more penguins. There we go. No, it's not letting me do that. Penguins? Penguins. Excellent. Our main capital city is now defended by penguins. Because why the hell not? Things like sound assets, things like the amount of stuff to explore. That's I think maybe what even impresses me the most out of anything. The amount of stuff to see. All sorts of awesome monsters. There's a bunch of neutral stuff that you can gain control over. There's like an entire set of sort of fairy creatures, which if you can get recruitment control over, you can build a bunch of those. They have all sorts of different cool abilities. And the amount of stuff that each unit can do and the different characteristics that distinguish it from everything else, that's what impresses me more so than anything. You know? Now, diplomacy-wise, it's not incredible. You know, you get this nice little screen here, seeing the leader you're talking to. And, of course, there is a morality system in the game as well, which generally means that you will be more friendly with whatever morality matches up with yours and less with the other. But there are certain actions, like, say, opening your borders is a good action. Declaring war is an evil action in some scenarios, which actually bothers me a little bit because there are times when you really feel the need, like you have to declare war, and that shouldn't inherently be an evil act, but I guess they're just going down the kind of classic fantasy way of doing things. You're able to open borders, declare alliances, send gifts and things like that. You can trade items. It's not incredible, but it's serviceable. It absolutely does the job. Now, there is one thing I would love to show you, actually, which I think is absolutely amazing. If I can find it. Here we go. So there's an item forge system in the game. I was talking about the items for your heroes earlier, that being key. In the item forge, you can design your own items based on a budget. So I imagine you can probably get stuff that will buff the amount of things that you can put on it. So let's say I wanted to make a sword. Let's make a weapon here. Or I can even make it look like this. Like, you can even customize what it looks like, for God's sake. And the kind of characteristics that are available with it, which is kind of brilliant. Let's just make a giant what looks to be like kind of a two-headed axe. And we can call it the Mighty Axe of B. No, I guess we can call it the Mighty Axe of B. You can't, there's not enough space here, but there we go. The Mighty Axe of B. And I can give it, let's say I can make it an Animal Slayer. I can put Backstab on the giant axe. And I can maybe say, all right, well, what else do I want it to do? I currently have one upgrade point remaining, so I can give it, like, Overwhelm, which means I can do extra damage against pikemen and shielded units. So that's used all of that. And obviously I can't add anything else. And that's the cost, and I can actually forge that item. And I can then give it to somebody. And it's really awesome that you have that ability. All sorts of different things. You can't make your own mounts. You have to find those through quests and things like that. But I could make a use item here that is both a, I mean, in this case, it would be like, I could just make a longbow, I suppose. Or I could make it do webbing touch or anything like that. So I can make something like that, or I can change over to boots. And I can do all sorts of things. I mean, this is just yet another example of how customizable everything is. You can tailor your armies, you can tailor your heroes to ridiculous degrees. And I love that level of micromanagement. I absolutely adore it. We need to get these penguins into a fight. We do. We need to find something to fight. Let's go invade a city with some penguins. I should probably send I'll send my flame tank along with them as well, because I don't think the penguins are going to last very long, which would be a little bit disappointing, to say the least. I can't believe it gave me the ability to summon Dire Penguin. That's phenomenal. I will not trespass. I'm waiting to hopefully this diplomatic thing will go fine, so I can actually move through this territory here. Good. I can. Excellent. Very good. So I'll be able to move through there now. Do I have any complaints? Only minor ones, really, and I think it would be nice to allow you to set cities on automated construction. I think that since Civ 5, they don't really like you doing that too much, because they've simplified the way that you can construct stuff, and you can queue things up to 5 here, or you can put it on infinite from the queue item if you so desire. So that's kind of the closest you can get to automation. I can set the city to produce merchandise, which is going to give me extra gold, and put that on infinite, and it won't bother me until I go and click on it again. Okay, I mean, I get that, but it would be nice to be able to set a city to a governor that said, produce military units, or try to build the economy of a city. The thing is that there's actually not that much in terms of the city building you can really do that would let you do that. Like, you want to focus solely on economy? You kind of can't. The only thing you can really do is increase the population growth of your city, which obviously is going to give you more money, and then it'll become a metropolis, and I don't believe it actually, yeah, it can't go any bigger than that, so at that point, you're earning the maximum you can from it. You can build upgrades which will produce more of a particular kind of resource, but outside of that, you don't have the city specialization that you can really do from something like Civilization 5. So if you are looking to focus on a game that has a lot of city building, this is not that game. It is not. It absolutely isn't. It is more combat focused. It is more sort of creating a fantasy empire, just rolling over your opponents. I thought I successfully opened my borders. Or did I just open my borders and not ask... Oh, I'm an idiot. Alright. Well, that's kind of terrible. Never mind. Well, I want to... Before we end this video, I must find a fight with these dire penguins. That's gotta happen. Flame tanks and dire penguins, just what you always wanted, right? Absolutely. The campaign is lengthy. There's an awful lot going on with it, and it actually intrigued me quite a lot. Most of the time, when I play a game like this, I'll actually just play random. And that's kind of cool too, but the campaign is really well put together. Like, it's got a good storyline. There's a lot of different events that go on, which I absolutely adore. It's really good to see all the sorts of sub-objectives and things like that. What I will say is that in the campaign, diplomacy is often not really an option, because frankly, it wants you to fight. Yeah, it wants you to complete the objectives of the mission. So you get a lot more flexibility in this mode. But considering the diplomacy is not incredible anyway, and it's just kind of serviceable, I don't really mind so much that the campaigns don't really allow you to do too much of it, because you're not really missing out on an awful lot. But you'll discover all manner of characters and villagers to interact with. You can do quests for them, and then they'll become part of your empire, and I'm just gushing over it. And rightfully so, because frankly, it is an incredible turn-based fantasy game. It's absolutely awesome. It lets you do so much if, of course, what you want to do is combat-focused. And it's going to be, I think, more of a personal preference, as we are about to invade with penguins here. Joyous. Absolutely joyous. It's more of a personal preference thing. Subjectively, some people are going to really love the empire-building aspect of games like this, and then they're going to be maybe slightly disappointed by the fact that there isn't maybe as much of that going on. And then other people are going to be looking for the hex-based tactical battles and the XCOM style stuff, and obviously the Heroes of Might and Magic style stuff, and they'll find that in spades, because that's what a lot of the game is about, and they'll find a huge amount of variety in terms of the units they can use, and the heroes they can hire, and the customization that they can do in that regard, and being able to just go into dungeons, find powerful magical items, and do all sorts of great stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, Age of Wonders is a great term for it, isn't it? Because you are actually exploring a world, and you get that real sense of wanderlust. Because you want to see what's in the fog, what's around the next corner, what great dungeon can I go into? Okay, will I find something awesome that I haven't seen before? I think in terms of the amount of little doodads you can find on the map, there's definitely less than, say, Heroes of Might and Magic, and certainly less than something like... Oh, we're going to fight them with the penguins. It's going to be good. I don't know if we can beat them, but we will try. Here we go. Manual combat with the penguins will now begin. My morale is now the worst. Oh, God. The penguins do not like being a part of my army at all. How dreadfully upsetting. Never mind. Certainly something like King's Bounty has a lot more than that, but King's Bounty is a game that focuses kind of on the adventures of a single hero. It's pretty much an RPG at that point, and this is very much a strategy game. Yeah, Age of Wonders is kind of excellent. It really is. It's provided me with, so far, I think 10 hours of fun, and I've barely scratched the surface. I have not touched the multiplayer. I don't know how well that would work, because oh, wow, they're immune to fire. That sucks. Oh, God, this is going to screw me over pretty badly. Alright, never mind. I guess I'll flame the spy drone then. I haven't tried the multiplayer yet. I did try simultaneous turns with the AI. I don't recommend that, because while they're moving around, you can't do stuff like upgrade or pick a building or anything like that, so it's not really simultaneous turns, and it's just kind of a pain in the arse, so I'd recommend the classic turn system for single player. It might work a little bit better in multiplayer, but it's the battles which really concern me, because these could drag on quite significantly. I would love to explore that, but I've so far been unable to kind of get a game. I think I will try and visit this game again in multiplayer, just so that I can figure out whether it's worth it. This is not the kind of game you would generally buy for multiplayer, in most circumstances. Go, my dire penguins! Attack! Attack! Oh, the walking animation is great, look at that. They're not happy. Yes, the unit is unhappy because I'm not evil. That sucks. It's also kind of hilarious in its own right. I'm out of cannon range. Let's move over here. We could probably at least do some significant damage to that firstborn there. I don't think you necessarily buy a game like this for multiplayer. But it's nice when the game has multiplayer, and when the multiplayer actually works. It does have a multiplayer component. I honestly have not tried it. I'm absolutely engrossed with the single player right now. The enemy AI is actually pretty savvy. It does what I kind of expect. It actually does a little bit more than I would expect. They love to kill off my high-value leader units that I've been spending hours developing. They know just how to infuriate me, and I save scum the hell out of that. Absolutely, and I have no shame in doing so, by the way. No shame at all. Oh, man. Alright, the penguins can they engage? Alright, here we go, folks. Penguin flank. To finish the video off, here we go. Full-on penguin flank has been enabled. Let's peck at it. There we go. They do ice damage. I'm not really sure I'm surprised by that. Alright. Yeah, I'll kind of stop gushing now. It's everything that I personally wanted out of a Fantasy 4X that is very much focused on combat. It does that very, very well. And that's fantastic. It does the exploration really well. It does the hero customization really well, which I think a game like this has kind of got to do to be extremely good. And thankfully it does that so much. As someone that definitely played here at Age of Wonder Shadow Magic, but was actually more focused on the hero series, I'm finding that I really enjoy the particular fantasy flavor that I'm currently getting from Age of Wonders 3. And it's very surprising to see a 3 come along that's actually good, because more often than not we see something like Disciples 3 fall flat in its face, and I was genuinely concerned that this would not be very good. And thankfully I was completely and utterly wrong. It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic, and I could not recommend it more. I think that you will have a whale of a time if you are into this kind of thing. I think there is a huge amount of replayability thanks to random maps and the variety and combinations of races and classes that you can put in, which will give you a totally different experience every time you do it and really change your strategy around. And it's a really polished product that has had a huge amount of tender loving care put into it. And I really appreciate that they managed to pull that off. Because more often than not we do see that not happen, and that'd be kind of very upsetting for people that enjoyed the series. It definitely lives up to its name. They spent enough time, they understood exactly what needed to be done, and they executed it, not flawlessly, but bloody well close enough to flawlessly. I could not recommend it more. If you're into things like Heroes of Might and Magic, if you like King's Bounty, even if you like Civ 5 and you may be looking for a more combat-focused experience based in a fantasy world, without hesitation, at this point, I would say that this is well worth your time. Well worth your time. It's just awesome. Age of Wonders 3, ladies and gentlemen. It's currently available on Steam for $40 or your regional equivalent. And I'm gonna go play more of it, if you don't mind. This may be sapping into my work time, and you know what? I don't feel too bad about that. Thank you very much for watching, folks. I'll see you next time.